can say about this truck, and it's kind of true of all trucks in general, is it's kind of like a big, old, reliable, dependable, friendly dog. In that it's, it's kind of big, it's kind of cumbersome, it's not the most efficient. That's kind of true of all bigger trucks to a certain degree, but you kind of love it. Again, if you live in a city or a smaller place, you're not going to want a big truck, just like you wouldn't want a big dog. Hey guys, Ferrari Dave here. I'm putting this car on this channel versus DFW's cars, my more normal everyday channel. Even though it's not a sports car or a luxury car, let me show you the 3 big reasons I'm putting it on Ferrari Dave right now. So let me just get right to it. First off, this is the very high-end luxury edition. It's very similar to the Platinum. It's called the 1794, which is when the Toyota plant in Texas, San Antonio, Texas, was actually, I guess, like built originally. Also, the big reason this is on my sports car, luxury car kind of channel is it has the TRD 4x4 off-road package. That includes upgraded Bilstein shocks. It also has upgraded roll bar back there, as you can see. Again, this doesn't make this handle better. There is a Tundra Sport, which is the on-road. Sport exhaust is an option this one happens to have.
And one of the very biggest reasons that you'll find this truck on this channel, this truck makes about 400 horsepower and 400 foot-pounds of torque, so it is a beefy engine. You can just look at it there. It's a big 5.7 liter V8. It's got Toyota's iForce, branding or technology in there as well, which is pretty cool. It's got the this one has the air filter. From TRD. I do wish it was a little more angled off up front though, because when I'll show you later in the visibility, it's really hard to see like lower cars. Like it looks nice and beefy and square, but it just could be a little bit lower and a little bit nicer that way, like other trucks are. So you can see cars and stuff like that.
Otherwise, I really like how they've kept this truck, which is kind of late in its life cycle, modern looking. They've upgraded the grille fairly recently. Which is very nice. And then this one has like extra chrome accents, not to mention interior that we'll talk about in a bit. This one does have the shorter bed, which for people buying like a $50,000 truck fully optioned out, you can get these in the 40s, high 40s, if you don't get all the options. That's not like too crazy. They integrated the backup camera in here, which is nice. And then the bed is, it's pretty small. By truck standards. I believe it's 5.5, so you lose about a foot back here. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that.
As you can see from the sticker here, it is built in Texas, built in America, a lot of American parts, so that's kind of big for truck people. Nissan do that as well, which is really a good thing, I think.
As tall as this truck is, it doesn't have running boards. I believe you can option them on. I feel like they should be standard, and I know that may sound petty, but the first time I was getting out of it, like, look how daunting that is. It's like,
Now onto this beautiful interior. It is very nice. Great place to be and spend time. It's more of a luxury vehicle than a truck, honestly, at this point. Very rugged, but also, it has a nice wood on the wheel there. That's part of the 1794 edition. These seats could be off a Lexus. They got suede inserts, really nice leather perforation, and they're very comfortable as well. So, good interior.
Things Toyota could improve on this truck, which they will when they update it, which should happen, soon. As you can see, this entertainment screen is kind of small. It's actually pretty high definition, and it has some cool features, like as you can see, there's apps.
And where you press for map, it's actually not a map button. You have to go into apps for that.
The main gauges, however, are very nice, easy to read, and they give you, a lot of information. Again, it's a really nice interior. Let me just go around and show you. Starting with the door, you have the wood grain type trim on the door, along with this like leather stitch here. Very nice. Instead of just like black plastic, which even some Lexuses have, you have kind of the more colored plastic here, which I personally think looks nice. This one does have the upgraded JBL stereo, which is pretty good. It's not the best stereo I've heard, but it's probably worth the upgrade. And then even over here, like, this is definitely a luxury truck for people who would probably normally get a luxury car but have a ranch or something like that. Coming around back here, you have the wood shifter there. It is gated, which once you get used to it, it is fine. You get a lot of cup holders in here, but even those have like chrome around it. Really nice truck in the 1794. You get this badge here. Let me open this ridiculous console. This is $75, by the way, but I guess if you're paying almost 50 grand for a truck, that's not a big deal. But yeah, you get an extra cigarette lighter down in here, and this thing is so deep. You can fit your laptop, you can fit your work gear, you can fit pretty much anything in this ginormous console. One interesting thing that kind of shows its age a little bit, it does have a standard key versus a smart start system. Let me run through some of the features it does have, which is pretty actually impressive. It has parking distance assist, there's trailer braking options, and you can adjust the gain, a tow haul mode. Obviously that turns your stability control on and off. When you do that, it actually turns off your auto limited slip diff. Instead of actually a stability control, I'm sure actually if I hold it down, and then you can actually, if you hold it, turn all stability control off. So that's like turning traction control off to a degree, and then if you hold it, that's all stability control. Don't know why you'd want to. This does have a two-wheel drive mode, which is great if you're on the roads and it's not even wet. You just leave it in that, and then you can turn it to 4 high, and you just push it in to engage the 4 low, and then it'll beep to tell you that if you're doing some off-roading. Over here, there's a lot of features. You can even adjust like the height of your headlights as well, which is pretty cool. So I guess you don't blind people, or if you're trailering. This is for the rear window, which you actually can put down and up, which is kind of neat to have actually, as well as auto high beams on here and automatic headlights, of course. Pretty much a lot of luxury features you'd expect. A certain amount of autonomy. There's smart radar cruise control. There's a lane departure warning, again, versus one where it'll actually help keep you in your lane. It's just a warning where it'll beep. Great feature to have on a truck this size. Along with that, there's also a pre-collision, but I believe that's just a warning. But it does have blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic assistance. So they managed to keep it pretty, current. I love these giant mirrors. They actually work well. I'm still glad it has the blind spot, and I like how they have, the visible blinker in there. And it would work. They stick out enough that it would work well even if you had a trailer. You get the same experience as the front, the leather and wood grain type trim. These suede, very comfortable seats. Is even comfortable in the back as well. You even get upgraded mats on this model that not only say Tundra, or you can get, but they also have this like carpeted nice pattern in there, but they're also fairly practical as well. So I really do like this. Honestly, it's so big back here, I could live back here and sleep back here. You can hear it echoing, it's that big. I want to show you the leg room back here. I'm going to overlay a vehicle where this truck has more leg room than that vehicle, but just under 6 feet, I could fit another person standing up here and still be fine. It is ridiculously big, and I see why you lose that foot back there now. It's for this interior, which if you're taking people in the back, like large people, this is a great truck for that. It's just huge. And I mean, look at the roof up here. Again, that and where they don't arch off the front, as we'll talk about in the driver view, does make it a little trickier to drive, however.
All right, so we are on the road with this truck. A couple of critiques early on. I'm not the only one to say this, and you probably noticed this if you're an owner as well. The way there's the overhangs in the
Here's
front.
what I mean. See how over there it's just like, even that with an SUV, let alone with a car, it's just like, am I hitting that car? It's, again, the visibility on here is, it's really tricky. My viewpoint is actually a little bit higher, and it's still hard to see if you're making it around. It's a very wide truck. Like, look at this. My arms are fairly long. I can barely get into the passenger compartment there.
So the fuel efficiency on this one, again, it's kind of a side effect of that V8 with no turbocharging or anything like that. This has the bigger motor. If fuel efficiency is your thing, you can get a smaller one. I like the big one. It just gives you more power than I think you really even need in this truck. Obviously, fuel efficiency is not the best in class, kind of on the lower spectrum, but again, it's a big burly V8, so that's sort of to be expected. I'm sure the refresh will probably fix, both of those issues, kind of the truck feeling very big and cumbersome. There are other trucks that are as big but feel small. Let me show you something cool. Sorry, I had to do it, guys. The V8 in this thing with the air intake from TRD and the exhaust is ridiculous. It sounds so good, and it is actually relatively quick for something so big and heavy. The steering is a little loose, even by truck standards. I kind of like that, though, with this one having the TRD off-road package. because it sort of reminds you, like, don't throw it into a turn too fast, because it's a big, heavy, high truck with, you know, a more supple suspension. There is a sport model of the Tundra, not in this trim, that you can get. It's a TRD Sport, which I think would be pretty cool if you're, you know, not off-roading a lot. For the brakes, and this is sort of true of all trucks, but it's more pronounced here, I feel like. There tends to be a lot of initial play. I'm sure it has to do with trailering, but you have to kind of get into them to get any significant stopping power. Just a small thing. Once you get used to it, it's totally fine. Transmission on this car, it's a 6-speed, but it's very good. It's very quick. When you pop it in a sport, it happily goes down and just lets you play. Gets you up to like 90, 100. Speed's illegal in most places on the highway. Not a problem. And it's quick around town. Not that I'm sure that many of these trucks drive around town. As a luxury highway cruiser, it's really quite nice. It's pretty comfortable. It handles big bumps well. I'm sure the updated version will handle certain undulations, like in the road, better. You can maybe see that from some of the camera shake. It's not uncomfortable, but it doesn't live up to the luxury of, like, the interior, things like that. It is pretty quiet. For the most part, the only thing you really hear is the rumble of that V8. You may hear some rain now just because it's a rainy day, but pretty quiet truck. It's a nice cruiser, very comfortable seats, you know, very easy to drive, lots of miles in, which a lot of people with trucks, you know, tend to do. Now the part, would I buy this truck with my own money? I, again, live in a city with very narrow, or suburb, I guess you'd say, with very narrow streets, where I specifically bought an electric car for that reason, that you know, I was burning so much gas in like a V8 or a high-powered V6 driving around. So for me, this truck wouldn't make sense. But if I lived more in the country or towed a lot and was in the market for a truck, this would be on the short list. Even though it's a little bit longer in the tooth, I'm sure you can probably get good deals on them. Or alternatively, you know, you can probably pick one up on the used market. Getting it loaded out for, you know, under 50 grand for a truck like this is not bad. There is a certain value tier. Also, the V8 in a truck, you know, Ford is starting to do away with that. A lot are going turbocharged. It does help with the gas mileage. You do lose that truck. It's like when I read the Lexus RCF. It's kind of a dying breed of vehicle in that way. Get Toyota reliability. Get a rock-solid truck. If you get the TRD Sport or TRD Off-Road, depending what you do, you're going to have a great performing truck. And the best part is, if you get the Platinum or this 1794 trim, you actually get a very luxurious truck. This is up there with a Lexus, but it's a pickup truck. So I'm loving that, how trucks are going more upscale now, and I think there is good value in this truck as well.
Well, next time, my speedy racers, drive on.